بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. So we said the main feature of that era, the era of the two Imams, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir and Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, in terms of the legislation was what? Do you remember? What is their major work? What did we call it? We put number one here. We put number one on the board. Education. Ahsantum. Education. Because why they started with education? Why?
Because they had their political ease.
Exactly, there was some political ease. They call it the detente, because Bani Umayyah were clashing with Bani al-Abbas. So they left Ahlul Bayt alone. No more harassment. In the beginning, of course, not later on. Later on also they started harassing them and murdering them. But in these turmoils, in these years of turmoil, the end of Bani Umayyah and the rise of Bani al-Abbas, there was some chance and opportunity for Ahlul Bayt to establish the university, beginning with Imam al-Baqir, and then Imam al-Sadiq continued his work. So they focused primarily on what? Number one, education. Education was very important. Ulum al Muhammad. And then, according to some scholars, they say that this time, alaykum as-salam wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. The author of Al-Dhari'ah, Sheikh Agha Buzurg al-Tahrani, Agha Buzurg al-Tahrani, he wrote a very famous encyclopedia. That encyclopedia is named Al-Dhari'ah ila Tasanif al-Shi'a. What does that mean? The name of the man, the author, is an Iranian scholar, Agha Buzurg, the big man, Al-Tahrani. The name of the book, Al-Dhari'ah, which is famous. If you say Al-Dhari'ah, everybody knows. Ila Tasan, that mentions the books that the Shi'as wrote. Because a Sunni scholar claimed that the Shi'as, they don't have any books. They don't have any books. All the books in the library are written by Sunnis. So they decided, this sheikh decided that I will show you whether we have books or not. So he wrote an encyclopedia. This encyclopedia puts the names of the books that were written, salamu alaikum, during the time of Imam Ali alayhi salam. From the time of Imam Ali until his time, maybe he died, I think he died 60 years ago. 60 years ago, probably, or something like that. He wrote every book with every author. The name of, and this is not easy, to sit and count all these books, and some of them are manuscripts. They are not published, manuscripts. Only one copy. So this man, this great man, Agha Buzurg al-Tahrani, he says that this era of Imam al-Baqir and Imam al-Sadiq are named the era of what? The era Asrun Tishar Ulumi Ali Muhammad. The era of the spread of the knowledge of Al Muhammad, the family of the Prophet. Why this happened, Afsana Khanum? Why this era is called the era of the spreading of the knowledge? Why? Because of what?
Educated a lot of the students, nurtured them.
He was able to educate because of what? Freedom and political ease. and a freedom. They had a freedom to teach. When they had a freedom, you find hundreds, rather thousands. At some point, someone counted 4,000 students Imam al-Sadiq had in Medina and Kufa. So that age was the age where we see the eruption, you can call it eruption of Ulum al-Muhammad. With no persecution, with freedom. So that was the first thing, my friends. الذريعة الطهراني Tehrani or Tahrani. So that was number one, education. What was their second task of Imam al-Baqir and Imam al-Sadiq? Beside education, and we mentioned their role in education last night, in our last session, what was their second major focus of Imam al-Baqir and Imam al-Sadiq? We didn't mention it yesterday. I'm going to mention it now. What was it? Beside education, what else?
Rearing and nurturing.
Ahsan. Dr. Ali has good eyesight without glasses.
Oh, I didn't see that.
So, rearing and raising and nurturing tarbiyah of what? Scholars and fuqaha. My friend, to be faqih is not easy. It's not through just reading books. You need a trainer. You need what? A mentor. You work under a mentor. The mentor shows you the way, the secrets. If you don't have a mentor, if a student does not have a mentor that you are attached to him, spiritually attached to him, morally attached to him. In this life, I say we have different types of relationships. One relationship between two friends. You are friends, you like each other, you love each other. Another relationship between the husband and the wife. But the strongest relationship, my friends, is between the teacher and the student. Because the student, when he loves his teacher, he's ready to give his life to his teacher, not to his wife. To his teacher. Because he loves his teacher. Because his teacher is creating him, building his brain, his character. So Ahlul Bayt, this was their second. So that was their first, and this was their second focus. Imam al-Baqir and Imam al-Sadiq, to nurture tarbiyatul fuqaha, al-ashab. Sometimes they call them ashab, means companions or disciples. Sometimes they call them scholars or jurists, fuqaha. Sometimes they call them students, talamid, because at the end of the day we are students. All the scholars are still students. They consider themselves, this is why they say in Iran, I am talaba. He doesn't say I'm a professor. Here, he teaches, first year at the college, he calls himself professor. But in Iran, even the Ayatollah says, I am talaba, I'm a student. I'm still a student. He's 90 years old and he's still a student. So they raised students. They raised scholars. They really invested their time on some students. They put their effort because they knew that this student is going to be someone important. You can trust that student. That student is willing to give everything. So if you spend 20, 30 years on him, nurturing him, he will be something. It will pay off. But not anyone was qualified to be a student. Some of them did not have that spirit. Ashabul A'imma, if you look at the companions of our Imams, from the time of Imam Ali, the ashab of Imam Ali, the ashab of Imam Hussein, ashab of Imam Hassan, ashab of Imam Zayn al-Abidin, Muhammad al-Baqir, Ja'far, some of them were different in their quality, in their character, in their faith, in their commitment. They were different. Imam Ali buys a slave from the market. He pays 10 times the price. People say to him, you don't know what to buy. People were quarreling with Imam Ali. They said, Ya Imam Ali, a slave who is worth 10 dinar, you pay 100 dinar? Imam Ali said, I know what I purchased. I know. And that's Slave's name was Maytham al-Tammar. Sells dates in the market. Imam Ali looked at him and he realized this is special. I have to buy him, free him. He's a scholar. He's going to be a scholar. He's going to be one of my disciples. And this is what happened. He became one of the major disciples, loyal disciples of Amir al-Mu'mineen, Maytham al-Tammar. To the extent, Salaam alaikum, that Imam Ali sometimes goes and sits in the market with Maytham in the market. Maytham sells dates. So Imam Ali sits there to speak to him, to chat. Have you seen sometimes when we meet in a restaurant, in a cafe? And sometimes Haytham had to go somewhere. Imam Ali says, you go, I sit here. Amir al-Mu'mineen. Can you imagine the caliph? I'm sitting here taking care of the shop until you come back. You go. So those ashab were unique. And it is due to those ashab and their commitment today we are the followers of Ahlul Bayt. Because they were the people who carried the torch and the knowledge of Ahlul Bayt. How do you know what Imam al-Sadiq said? Through what? Did you meet Imam al-Sadiq? None of us met Imam al-Sadiq or Imam al-Baqir. How do we know about the riwayat and hadith and narrations? Through what? Don't we say An Fulan, An Jamil ibn Durraj, An Abi Basir, An Muhammad ibn Muslim, An Zurara ibn A'yun, An Hamran ibn A'yun. This An on the authority of Zurara. So it was Zurara who kept this knowledge and he protected it and he passed it to us. Otherwise we didn't meet the Imams. And if there were no reliable students, how can we know what Imam al-Sadiq said? It was his students who kept this knowledge and they passed it to generations after them. So raising them, nurturing students, happened during the time of Imam al-Baqir and Imam al-Sadiq. They raised unique people in their fiqh and they will train them. And after training them, we will come and see inshallah in the future. Imam says, you are good at tafsir. So you only focus on the tafsir, knowledge of tafsir. But you, Zurara, you are good at fiqh. I want you to put your effort in jurisprudence. You, Hisham ibn al-Hakam, you are good in ilm al-kalam, theology, philosophy. So I want you to dedicate yourself for ilm al-kalam. Though you are knowledgeable in other fields, but I want expert in this field. So the Imams would bring those disciples and then they assign them a task that put your effort in this field because I want an iconic figure in this field. And then sometimes they will put them in Masjid al-Nabi or in Kufa. You sit here, people come and ask you questions. I am asking you to sit. Sometimes a person comes, approaches the Imam al-Sadiq. Imam al-Sadiq says, I'll refer you to my student. He's here. Zurara, answer him. Hamran, you answer him. This is part of the training. You have to train your student. You don't do the job for them. You have to train and you watch them. And this is how our Imams spent their time. Imam al-Sadiq lived for only almost 70 years. Some people say 68 years. Some people say 72, but almost 70 years. He spent these 70 years raising ulama, scholars, fuqaha. So among those fuqaha, let's go and see some of those fuqaha. Some of them come from one family, subhanallah. Family of A'yun. This is an important family, A'yun. Family of A'yun. A'yun produced one family, one household. Do you know how many scholars they had during the time of Imam al-Baqir, Imam al-Sadiq, even during the time of Imam Zayn al-Abidin? After that, Imam Ali ibn Musa al-Rida, after Imam al-Sadiq. How many students? Yes, this family in Kufa. How many scholars and fuqaha this family produced? top-notch fuqaha. 60. 60 is not a small number, my friends. It's not a small number. 60 is a huge number. So whole family was dedicated to study and to convey what they learned to the masses, to the people. And the leader of this family, there were 4 or 5 at the top. 4 and 5 or 5 at the top. Number 1, he could be number 1 disciple of Imam al-Sadiq. Some people say others, but this man is amazing. Zurara. His first name Zurara. Zurara ibn A'yun. His brother Hamran ibn A'yun. Hamran died. Zurara died 148. The same year Imam al-Sadiq died. Same year, maybe 2 months after the martyrdom of Imam al-Sadiq, Zurara died. Zurara wa ma adraka man Zurara. Zurara was a person that narrated. Imam al-Sadiq says about him, Rahimallah Zurara ibn A'yun. May God bless Zurara. Rahimallah, you can say it to people who are still living, huh? He doesn't have to be dead. May God bestow his mercy, you can say. Now we think that if we say, may God be merciful to him, that he's dead. No, even if he's alive. Rahimakallah, I can say to you, may God bestow his mercy. So Imam al-Sadiq says, Rahimallah Zurara ibn A'yun. Lawla Zurara, if it wasn't for him, وَنُظَرَاؤُهُ, his peers, write it down please. If it wasn't for Zurara and his peers, لَنْدَرَسَتْ أَحَادِيثُ أَبِي. لَنْدَرَسَتْ, our narrations, the narrations of Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, they would have been wiped out. Wiped out. Imam al-Rida, the 8th Imam, says about Zurara, no one was stronger than him in preaching the truth. In being strong in preaching the truth. And Imam al-Sadiq said to one of his students, Al-Mufaddal ibn Umar, if you, فَإِذَا أَرَدْتَ حَدِيثًا فَعَلَيْكَ بِهَذَا الْجَالِسِ. If you need to ask questions, go and ask this person. He pointed towards this man, Zurara. Zurara ibn A'yun. Okay. So Hamran died 130, they say. Yeah, 130. His brother died 130. Okay. And then they have Bukair and others who were very close to the Imams, very loyal and very intelligent. They say that the top 6 leaders among the companions of both Baqir and Sadiq were 6. Number 1, Zurara. So this is number 1. Who's number 2? Muhammad ibn Muslim. Write their names because we have things to do with them. Muhammad ibn Muslim, that is the 2nd. Who is the 3rd? Abu Basir al-Muradi. Abu Basir, you hear his name a lot. Abu Basir al-Muradi. Najat, write it as you hear it. Yeah. And Al-Fudayl ibn Yasar, number 4. Al-Fudayl ibn Yasar. Number 5. ومعروف ابن خربوذ. معروف ابن خربوذ. Some of the names sound weird. Okay. So these are, and Burayd ibn Muawiyah al-Ijli. Number 6, Burayd, not Barid, huh? Barid is the post. Burayd. Burayd ibn Muawiyah al-Ijli. Some of them were named Kharbuz. Some of them, my friends, their name was Yazid. Some of them were Muawiyah. Some of them were Umar. So don't be surprised, huh? These names now they have political connotation. At that time, didn't have. Muawiyah, Yazid, Umar. So what? Marwan, Mufaddal ibn Umar, the closest. Muawiyah ibn Wahab, one of the closest friends of Imam al-Sadiq. Muawiyah ibn Wahab. Or this man, Burayd ibn Muawiyah. So now people don't call their kids these names. But at that time, didn't have any political connotation. Names were names. Okay? Any question before I move?
Number 4 and number 5, can you repeat their names?
Yeah. Number 4, Al-Fudayl ibn Yasar. Al-Fudayl ibn Yasar. Number 5, Ma'ruf ibn Kharbuz. Number 6, Burayd ibn Muawiyah al-Ajli. And of course, number 1 here is Zurara ibn Ayyub. Those are the top notch. But of course, there are others. There are others. We are just mentioning some samples here. Okay. Any question? And also you're going to hear the name Aban ibn Taghlib. Aban ibn Taghlib, also one of the names that when you open the books of hadith, you see Aban ibn Taghlib. Taghlib. This name, he's from Kufa. This name is very famous name in the science of hadith. Okay. In fact, Aban ibn Taghlib, he narrated 30,000 hadith from Imam al-Sadiq. It's not a small number, 30,000, imagine. And all these hadith are credible. Each one could create a maxim in jurisprudence. Each one of these hadith. And he died 141. He died 141 Hijri. And Imam al-Sadiq, when he heard, because Imam al-Sadiq died 7 years after him. When he heard the news of his death, Imam al-Sadiq was in Medina, Aban was in Kufa. He said, Ama wallah, by God, لَقَدْ أَوْجَعَ قَلْبِي مَوْتُ أَبَانٍ. أوجع قلبي, it hurts my heart. The death of this man. Imagine when the Imam says, hurts my heart, it means this man is very important. He was very instrumental. And one of the people that they say he was very special to our Imams, very, very special. Very special. I put his name here because I want you to write his name, because later on you're going to come across this name. Jabir ibn Yazid al-Ju'fi. Ju'fi. Jabir ibn Yazid al-Ju'fi. Okay? They say about this man that he narrated 50,000 hadith from Imam al-Baqir. 50,000. My friends, 50,000 is an encyclopedia. 50,000 hadith from Imam al-Baqir. And he was so close to our Imams, Imam al-Baqir and Imam al-Sadiq. وَكَانَ مِنْ أَهْلِ أَسْرَارِهِمَا. وَكَانَ, he was one of the people of the asrar of the Imams. Because Imams do not tell their asrar and their secrets to anyone. Some people don't have the capacity. They can't take it. They can't. They don't have that mental, that spiritual capacity to take the news. They don't have. Capacity is full. or negative.
Do you mean mental capacity?
Mental and spiritual. And spiritual, because Imam al-Sadiq says, hadithuna, our story, صعب مستصعب. It's extremely difficult. لا يحتمله, no one can bear it, إلا ملك مقرب, an angel which is very close, high-ranking angel. إلا ملك مقرب أو نبي مرسل, a prophet that was dispatched and sent by God. أو if he's not ملك or نبي, مؤمن. But what about this mu'min? Any mu'min? No. امتحن الله قلبه بالإيمان. God had tested, put his heart into test. And he passed that test. Now what sort of test? God knows. It could be like the test of Ibrahim when God said to him, I want you to slay your son. And Ibrahim said immediately, of course I will do that. أو مؤمن امتحن الله قلبه. Those people are ready to carry our story, our hadith, to believe it, to embrace it. Others, they don't have. When there is weakness in Iman, they can't handle it. It's too much for them. In fact, God speaks about knowledge. Knowledge is one of the secrets of God. And God does not bestow knowledge on people arbitrarily. We've been told that yes, you go to school, you go to university, you study, you read books, you do your homework, but hikmah is something else. There is a difference between ilm and hikmah. Ilm is what we study at university. Even someone who is atheist, does not believe in God, can be intelligent in chemistry, in physics, in mathematics, in geography, in geology, in medicine. But hikmah, no. God says hikmah is not, you can't learn it at universities. This is a gift. This is in the Quran. يُؤْتِ الْحِكْمَةَ مَنْ يَشَاءُ. You cannot get it from university or a teacher. This is by God's leave, by God's permission. يُؤْتِ الْحِكْمَةَ مَنْ يَشَاءُ. He gives freedom to whomever He wants. وَمَنْ يُؤْتَ الْحِكْمَةَ فَقَدْ أُوتِيَ خَيْرًا كَثِيرًا. Wow, very powerful. And,
Explain it.
وَمَنْ يُؤْتَ الْحِكْمَةَ, and whomever receives this gift from God, hikmah, فَقَدْ أُوتِيَ, indeed, he has been given خَيْرًا كَثِيرًا, an abundance of goodness. God doesn't refer to kingdom or government or money or property as khayran kathira, or even children. These khayr, but not kathira. These are a goodness, but not an abundance. But when it comes to hikmah, God says khayran kathira. Khayran kathira, an abundance of goodness. And hikmah is not given to any person, any professor, any scholar. Hikmah does not only require to stay up and study and memorize and be into. Hikmah needs another element. Beside the aql, aql, when you have good aql, good brain, you can be number one. You can be A+. But hikmah, it requires aql and what? What else beside aql? Reason. What else? Iman, spirit, ruh. Ruh has to be also clean and willing to accept and willing to submit. Two things, not just aql. Aql today, you bring any student from the street, even if he does not believe in God, even if he does not believe in ethics, let alone God. He's a criminal. He's a murderer, but he studies well, he gets A+, at the top of his class. This is ilm. But hikmah is something else. Hikmah is not just ilm. Hikmah refers to wisdom, understanding, and ultimately knowing and embracing and finding the truth. That is hikmah. فَقَدْ أُوتِيَ خَيْرًا كَثِيرًا. And God does not give it, does not furnish it to anyone. Special people, among them Ahlul Bayt, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Amir al-Mu'mineen, Fatima al-Zahra, the Imams, and those who are trained by them. Those who are trained by them. This is the hikmah. Ironic that those people, because they were loyal to Ahlul Bayt, they did not have position with the government. They were ostracized and marginalized because they did not work for the government. Sufyan al-Thawri, who himself is a scholar, but Sunni, he chose to study with Imam al-Sadiq, under Imam al-Sadiq, but then he established his own madhab, Sufyan al-Thawri. He did not follow the tradition. He's a student of Imam al-Sadiq, one of his students, like Abu Hanifa, like Imam Malik. But he established. When he comes to Jabir, to this man, to Jabir, he says about him, Jabir al-Ju'fi, this is Sufyan al-Thawri, who is not in the line of Ahl al-Bayt. He says, this man, صدوق في الحديث, he's truthful. إلا أنه يتشيع. The problem with him, he's Shia. He's honest, he's truthful, but he's Shia. So they admit that those people are clean, they are honest, but their problem is they are Shia. So they look at being Shia, this is a liability. A liability. So he mentions 50,000 hadith. Sometimes the Imams gives their hadith in a public session, sometimes no. They select one among them. You come with me. And this is exactly what the Prophet did with Imam Ali. The Prophet would give sermon in the mosque. Thousands of people are listening to him. But sometimes says, Ali, I want you to come to my room. To my room. I want you to come during darkness so no one is there. Because there are certain things I want to teach you. You have the capacity. Others, they don't have it. Others are not qualified to even listen to this. They are not qualified. Same thing Imam Ali did to some of his, he had many students, but some of them like Maytham al-Tammar, very special. Who was the other one who was special? That he would go with Imam Ali. Kumail. He would go outside the city of Kufa in the desert. Whenever Imam Ali needed a companion, a trustworthy companion who has good capacity, he will take Kumail with him. He doesn't take anyone else. Kumail has the capacity. And both of them are buried near Kufa. Maytham is buried near the Masjid al-Kufa, and Kumail also buried on the way to Kufa. Both of them were murdered. In fact, all the ashab of Amir al-Mu'mineen were murdered during the time of Muawiyah bin Abi Sufyan. So same thing with Imam al-Baqir, Imam al-Sadiq. They have many students, but they select one or two and they tell them things that they don't share with others because they have the capacity. And he was وَأَمِينُهُمَا, the Amin of the two Imams. وَأَمِينُهُمَا عَلَى مَا لَمْ يُؤْتَمَنْ عَلَيْهِ أَحَدٍ. He was the trustworthy of Imam al-Baqir, Imam al-Sadiq. They don't tell their stories, special stories, to anyone except this man. Because he is worthy, he can carry it, he can take it. And I spoke about Muhammad ibn Muslim. Where is Muhammad ibn Muslim? This man. He moved from. Muhammad ibn Muslim also narrated 30,000 from Imam al-Baqir and 16,000 from Imam al-Sadiq. Total of 46 that he memorizes. 30,000 from Imam al-Baqir, 16,000 from Imam al-Sadiq. And they said about him, someone said, ما كان أحد من الشيعة, there was no one among the Shias أفقه من محمد ibn Muslim. أفقه, what does أفقه mean? More learned in the field of what? Fiqh, jurisprudence, Islamic law. Fiqh. Yeah, he died 150. So he died a couple of years after Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, 150. So those were the Shia. But there were some Sunni scholars who were the students of Imam al-Sadiq. Such as whom? Brother Arish. Abu Hanifa. And Nu'man ibn Thabit was the student. Who else after Abu Hanifa? Malik. Imam Malik. Also the student of Malik ibn Anas, of course. The Imam of the Maliki madhab. And also the one that I just mentioned, Sufyan al-Thawri. Sufyan al-Thawri was also one of the Imams, but then his madhab was, somehow receded, and it didn't gain popularity. And Ibn Jurayh and others. So those were the students of Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam. Let me tell you this story. Though Bani al-Abbas came to power riding the wagon of what? Ahlul Bayt. The slogan of Ahlul Bayt. We are coming to take revenge for the tragedy of Ashura, Ya li Tharat al-Hussein, and we want to restore the Imamah and the Khilafah in favor of Ahlul Bayt. We are just fighting, but then when we become triumph, we give them the Imamah and the Khilafah. But they didn't do that. Because when you reach the seat yourself, you don't give it to your father or to your brother, not even to your son. You need it for yourself. So, but then they had a dilemma, Bani al-Abbas. Because they gave a freedom to Ahlul Bayt, to our Imams, now the people know about our Imams. In the past they didn't know, they didn't meet them, they didn't hear them. But now that they hear them, they fall in love with them. If you hear Imam al-Sadiq one time, forget about Imam al-Sadiq. If a good scholar comes, good speaker, good khatib, gives one lecture, good lecture, you fall in love with him. You're going to follow him. You're going to search for him on YouTube because he touched your heart, your mind. So imagine Imam al-Sadiq when he speaks, and Imam al-Baqir. Can you find someone who doesn't get attracted to them? They are miracles in their knowledge. So Banu al-Abbas, the caliphs, especially in Mansur al-Abbasi, he was the second caliph. Abu Muslim al-Khurasani. See, let me put them in order. To give you a little bit of historical perspective. The one who led the revolution is Abu Muslim, led the Abbasi's revolution against Bani Umayyah. Abu Muslim al-Khurasani. So you can tell from his name he is from where originally? Khurasan. Then the caliph who came after him, Abu al-Abbas al-Saffah. Then after that, al-Mansur al-Abbasi. Al-Mansur was so jealous of Ahlul Bayt, especially Imam al-Sadiq. Very jealous of Imam al-Sadiq. And ultimately he murdered Imam al-Sadiq. Imam al-Sadiq was murdered in 148 Hijri during the reign of al-Mansur al-Abbasi. And al-Mansur was doing everything possible just to try to erase the name of Imam al-Sadiq so people can forget him. And he was the one who introduced this sentence in Salatul Jumu'ah. What sentence? In Khutbatul Jumu'ah. Today the Sunnis, if you go to a Sunni mosque, the Khatib of Jumu'ah, the Khatib of the Friday prayers, has to mention this sentence before leaving the podium. اللهم ارض عن خلفاء المسلمين أبي بكر وعمر وعثمان. He must, huh?
It came from him?
Yeah, it came from this man. He said, we have to promote those. Why are we playing with fire?
They still say that?
Yeah, of course. Before that, before the time of Mansur, even during the time of Yazid and Muawiyah and Bani Umayyah and Bani Marwan, during the Umayyad, they never mentioned the name of the Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman. They never. He was the one. He was the one. And then because he saw people are gathering around Imam al-Sadiq, he came to Imam Malik, the student of Imam al-Sadiq. He said to him, listen, I pay you to write a book. What book was that? Dr. Omid, what book was that? He said to Imam Malik ibn Anas, I want you to write a book in fiqh, so it becomes the manual of the Islamic State. Officially, the manual that we can use it in the courtrooms, in the teaching people the fiqh, write me a book. So that book was written by Imam Malik specifically by the order of Mansur. And that book, Al-Muwatta, very famous, Al-Muwatta. Al-Muwatta. Imam Malik ibn Anas. Book of the Maliki fiqh. So he said to him, we promote you, write us a book, and we make this book the legal book or the formal book of the entire Khilafah al-Islamiyya. Every country, every city, they have to use your book. What does Muwatta mean? Any clue? Muwatta. From Wata. Okay? So you can step on it. If the land is rigid, can you step on it? Can you walk on it? If the terrain is mountainous, there are rocks, can you drive? Can you walk? No. So it has to be what? Flat and easy. This is the meaning. Muwatta means easy. Easy to what? To understand. So make me a book, write me a book in fiqh, but make it easy for people to understand. Muwatta. Muwatta means sahl, easy. 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 So all people can understand it, so I make it the official book. Imagine why. So Imam al-Sadiq does not succeed. Though Malik is the student of Imam al-Sadiq, but he accepted the offer, and therefore his book became the official book of the state, while Imam al-Sadiq was in prison. So Mansur spoke to this guy, to Abu Hanifa, to Abi Hanifa, because they lived at the same time, Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, and this guy, the caliph, and Imam al-Sadiq. He said to him, I'm going to bring Ja'far ibn Muhammad al-Sadiq all the way from Medina. He brought him 7 times. Can you imagine? And the distance is not easy. Distance at least 1,500 kilometers. 1,500 kilometers, you need 1 month to travel this distance at that time. It's not that you take a flight and, after 2 hours. 7 times he summons Imam al-Sadiq from Medina to Baghdad. 7 times. So when he comes, I'm going to bring him. You, Abu Hanifa was in Iraq, except for the period that he came to Medina to study under the 2 years, under Imam al-Sadiq. Otherwise, he's the marja of Iraq, Abu Hanifa. So when he comes, I'm going to invite you. You have time from now to prepare the most difficult masail. Go and find wherever you can find a complicated mas'ala, very tough mas'ala, prepare them from now. I'm giving you some time. And I want you to defeat Ja'far ibn Muhammad al-Sadiq in front of scholars and ulama. So Abu Hanifa says, this is the caliph, I have to listen to him. So I went and I started writing down the most difficult mas'ala. to embarrass Imam al-Sadiq. Imam al-Sadiq came, Abu Hanifa came into the session. Imam al-Sadiq was already there. Mansur is sitting, Imam al-Sadiq there. So Mansur pretended that it is an accident, it's a coincidence that Abu Hanifa comes, you know. But of course he asked him ahead of time to come. So when he came, Abu Hanifa, he says the story. He said, I looked at Mansur here and Imam al-Sadiq there. Mansur for me was adi, normal. But once I looked at the face of Imam al-Sadiq, I lost control of myself. I felt I am very small in the presence of this man. أخذتني هيبته. Imam has hayba. What does hayba mean? Reverence. Reverence. When you see someone holy, imagine I am now here, all of a sudden His Holiness the Pope comes inside. Well, what will happen to you? I don't know. Or Sayyid Sistani, for instance, without comparison. He comes inside. Or when you go and visit him in his room. It's not like you are visiting a friend or hayba. They really have hayba, scholars. I remember in Brussels, I went to Brussels, maybe this is 5 years ago, for a lecture, and I went to a mosque in downtown city center of Brussels. The imam of that mosque, he's from Morocco. He was at that time 75 years old. He embraced the school of Ahlul Bayt. And almost half of the people in that mosque, they were with him. The other half were, from other tradition. So I sat next to him. I said to him, Sayyid, he's descendant of the Prophet. I said, Sayyidna, what was the first spark, Sharara, that led you into this? He said, back in the 60s, I went to Najaf. Because I'm Sufi, so I went to Najaf to visit the shrine of Imam Ali, but Sufi Sunni. So they said, why don't you visit the marja of the time? At that time, the marja, you remember, was Ayatollah Said Muhsin al-Hakim. Before Sayyid Abul Qasim al-Khoyi, this is back in the 60s. So he says, when I went into the room, though the room is very simple, house is very humble, simple, but when I looked at the face of this marja, as if I have seen Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. This is the Prophet in front of me. Wow. I said, by just looking at him, I imagined that he's a prophet. Even before I spoke to him, I did not ask him. This is my first impression that this is the Prophet. Why do you go far? Those are the right school. فَكَأَنِّي رَأَيْتُ رَسُولَ اللَّهِ. As if I have seen the Prophet. So Abu Hanifa says, when I came with full confidence, preparing tough questions to defeat, as soon as I looked at him, I lost myself, okay? And then دخلتني من الهيبة لجعفر بن محمد الصادق ما لم يدخلني لأبي جعفر. Mansur, his title, his nickname is Abu Ja'far al-Mansur. He says the hayba, the reference that captured me from seeing Imam al-Sadiq, it didn't happen when I saw the Mansur. Mansur was normal. Okay? And then he says this. So when I sat there, Mansur said, Ya Abu Hanifa, why don't we take advantage of the presence of this great son of Rasulullah and ask him a question? So Abu Hanifa said, I was preparing these questions. Listen to the answer. فَجَعَلْتُ أُلْقِي عَلَيْهِ. I started throwing my questions at him. فَيُجِيبُني. And he would answer me. But this is important. فَيَقُول, Imam al-Sadiq, فَيَقُول أَنْتُمْ فِي الْعِرَاقِ تَقُولُونَ كَذَا. In regards to this mas'ala, the people of Iraq, you Abu Hanifa, because you are Iraqi marji', تَقُولُونَ كَذَا. وَأَهْلُ الْمَدِينَةِ, the people of Medina, they say this, وَنَحْنُ نَقُولُ كَذَا. So not only he would give him his answer, Imam al-Sadiq tells him about his answer, Abu Hanifa's answer, the people of Medina's answer, and my answer. Imagine. Not only he knows his own answer, he knows his adversary's answers too, his opponent's answers too. So Abu Hanifa said, Alasna, don't we say, Abu Hanifa said, this is his sentence, Alasna rawayna, don't we say, Inna a'lam nas, the most knowledgeable among the people, a'lamuhum bikhtilaf nas, the one who knows about the ikhtilaf, the differences. He's the most learned. It's not enough for you to say, this is my opinion. You have to know your opponent opinions too. Once you can say what Arish says, what Hamid says, what Nadim says, what Ali says, what Saeed, then you say, this is my opinion, this means you are genius. So you know their answers. You know their answers very well. Abu Hanifa was dumbfounded. And he could not. Khalas, that's it. The session is over. Have you seen the boxers? People are prepared for 2 hours. And then within 20 minutes, that guy, he's knocked down. Khalas, the game is over. The game is over. Abu Hanifa said, the game is over. What can I say to Mansur? Mansur was defeated. وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين.